Alright guys, I wanted to try out these different watercolor mediums and kind of do some demos. I'm going to have to break this up into probably several videos because that's a lot. So my main one I'm going to actually demo is going to be the granulated watercolor medium. Super excited about that. And then there are these different kinds of inks. So I had been using Higgins black ink and I found that it's not really as black as I want it to be. So read some reviews online and I'm trying Daler Rowney's brand of, okay, so there's two different kinds of inks I have here. I have the acrylic ink and then I have a watercolor ink that I'm going to test out, okay? Set these aside. I also bought, this is pretty cool, they have a box set that you can buy online. This box set includes 6 different inks. So my favorite color, because I really wanted to get some other colors. You can use these in so many different ways. I've seen artists online not only just paint with these, but you can tone like your paper that you want to draw on top of. So I saw another artist who actually would water this down a little bit and then paint on top of the pastel paper to give it whatever tone of color. And it was really cool because then it really put a really nice color underneath it. So I've got 6 different colors. You've got the sepia, emerald green, that comes in the set. You also have a scarlet, and then this is a really pretty blue. This is a cyan. It's probably magenta. Yeah, magenta. Oh, and these are really tight in the box, so I'm probably going to take them out of them because it's a bit difficult. And a lemon yellow. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside here. So I just wanted to show you the actual product. I am working on this foam core, the styro core, so that I don't get my kitchen table too messy. I have a watercolor block that I'd used previously for testing out some watercolor medium that I showed you from Winsor & Newton. This is using just regular watercolors. Okay, so watercolor granulation medium will actually separate the pigments so it becomes more granular, like you'll get this kind of texture, because usually you want your watercolors nice and smooth, okay? But with this granulation medium, it kind of separates out the pigment from the actual what it's suspended in. So yeah, it's really interesting when you see it happen. But anyways, so here's the thing, it didn't separate it as much. I mean, you get this kind of slight texture to it, but I really loved some examples that I saw of this fine artist. She's based out of the UK. Her name's Naomi Tydeman, and her watercolors are fantastic. And there's another there's an illustrator I love as well from the UK. Her name is Lisbeth Zwerger, and she won the Hans Christian Andersen Award a few years back, and she uses some kind of, maybe not necessarily this brand of not the blending medium. See, they look the same. You got to watch out. Granulation medium. She may use the Schmick. They have like a nebulizer that you can spray really, or it's called an atomizer, I guess, and it sprays a fine mist of this stuff, and you can get these wonderful textures that you normally could not get from just painting with watercolor and a brush, okay? So I'm gonna get set up and we're gonna switch over to testing this out. All right guys, so I have these, I used these for a clay project when I was teaching elementary art to make these clay cupcakes, and I just had all of these, so I was like, I'm gonna use these to put my inks in. Okay, so be mindful, because if you are choosing to follow along and you're using these acrylic based inks, so think about what happens when acrylic paint dries on a palette. Okay, it's permanent, okay? Where watercolor is a medium that if you let it dry, you can obviously just go ahead and use a wet towel or whatever and wipe it clean. So with this, I gotta really be mindful of the difference between that. And then I have this Daler Rowney, and this one is just a watercolor ink, okay? So I am gonna have to be really careful about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I really wanna use the sepia. I'm gonna use the sepia, and then I thought it would be really nice to use this lovely green because it kind of gives you this forest feel. And so I am gonna just turn this, and I think I'm just gonna shake it just a little bit because sometimes pigments settle, you know, just never know. So I'm gonna turn it, I'm gonna put the, squeeze the top, get some of that, and drop the sepia in here. Okay, I love this color, it is so pretty. I'd like to get a burnt umber as well. Okay, here's my green. Oh, I forgot, I'm gonna shake it just a little bit. I'm sorry guys, there's this background noise that you're hearing of my AC. It's very hot where I live, so I'm gonna do like 3. There we go. I'm gonna make sure I close this tight. Okay, yeah, so I don't care if these cups get messed up. Okay, brushes, I'm just gonna use, because I don't wanna use a really good brush. I mean, I have more expensive brushes, but this is a $2 painter's brush, and I'm going to put it on my watercolor block. Whew, that's nice and thick. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab another brush. I need to use one of my not so good brushes, but anyways, I'm just gonna blend this together. Just put that. Okay. All right. So I've painted some swatches, and now I have what they call a pipette. They sell these at Dick Blick, and I think I got a set of 4 or 5 of these, and then I bought the little eyedropper as well. So whatever you have handy like that, but I found that this was really nice and easy to use. I am then going to use my watercolor Granulation Medium. This is from Winsor & Newton. It's clear. And then you squeeze the top of the pipette so that you can suction in some of this medium. See how it suctions in? I feel like a mad scientist. Okay, so now I'm gonna like, just sprinkle this on here. I'm gonna do the best, neatest job, but you can already see it separating. I think I need more because it kind of went thick on this. And obviously where it's, and then I probably have to use a little bit of gravity. That's what they say. And I don't care if this runs onto my, so this is what I see happening in like some of these watercolor paintings that I really admire, like this kind of texture. So I could probably go in a little bit more with the Granulation Medium. So go right here. So I want to work before, yeah, because once it dries, see, it's not activating right here at all because it already started drying. And so using the gravity to kind of pull. And I'm going to put a link so you can check out, like, if you have an understanding on how to control this, you can get some beautiful textures. So like I said, the 2 artists that I'm going to I mentioned earlier, I'll put a link in the description box. But these would be really hard to get those kind of textures using a watercolor brush. So look at that. Isn't that pretty? Wow, I love the green. Look at that green. So vibrant. Like, this would be an amazing texture for tree bark or dirt, a forest. Okay, so I just wanted to showcase that. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering what kind of paper I'm using, this is Dick Blick's watercolor block. It's a 140-pound watercolor cold press paper. Okay, So I'm gonna let this dry, and then this is something I can scan into the computer because I'm kind of been switching over to do more digital art. So I can scan this in and reuse this texture in a digital collage. So I'm super excited. This is very unpredictable. Obviously, you do have to use quite a bit of the Winsor Newton granulated watercolor medium. I really would have loved to buy the Schmick the little spray bottle they had, but they were totally out at the Dick Blick store. So anyways, I definitely will purchase some of that later on because that one gives you a little bit more of a speckled effect. It almost kind of reminds me if you use salt on watercolor, but it gives you very quick, fast results. Where salt, you kind of have to wait for it to dry, and it's not always maybe as consistent. You also want to make sure, like if you're doing this with watercolor instead of the ink, make sure you decide to know like how much granulation you're going to actually have, because if the pigment tends to be more granulated in the first place, it's going to react better with this. So I found like ultramarine blue worked pretty well as far as with my M-gram watercolors, but this, you just can't get these kind of results if you're using just the plain watercolor, even if it's highly granulated, because I tried over and over and over again. And so it's the Daler Rowney's, okay, acrylic ink, okay? So I'm gonna pause this video, and then I really am super excited. I wanna test it out with the actual Daler Rowney's, the actual, their watercolor inks, and see if my results will be still as